So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to kick off the show today with some of the latest income inequality news. I know, fun stuff, right? Well, some of this, one report came out last week that we didn't have time to cover it, and there's some comments by some one percenters that are gonna make your head explode here. So, probably a lot of you saw this, but last week a report came out from the group OXFAM that found that 85 individual people, the 85 richest people in the world, actually own more assets and wealth than the bottom 6.5 billion people. Not 6.5 million, that would be bad enough. 85 owning more than 6.5 million should be a gigantic schedule, but this is not 6.5 million, it's 6.5 billion with a B. 85 individual people own more than 65 billion combined. It's the 85 combined is what I'm saying, but that 85, when I say individual, I mean it to say these are a small amount of people here. So it amounts to 85 people owning half of the world's wealth and assets. And this isn't even like the 1% we're talking about here, which would make it worse if you went out a little bit further. But this is a very fractional part, a small fraction of the 1% that own over half of the world's wealth and assets. Here's a few more stats from the Oxfam study. The wealth of the 1% richest people in the world amounts to $110 trillion. That's 65 times the total wealth of the bottom half of the world's population. 7 out of 10 people live in countries where economic inequality has increased in the last 30 years. The richest 1% increased their share of income in 24 out of 26 countries, for which we have data between 1980 and 2012. And in the United States of America, the wealthiest 1% captured 95% of post-financial crisis growth since 2009, while the bottom 90% became poorer. That's all from this Oxfam study. And so, this is stuff that we talk about income inequality all the time. But again, here's another study that goes and shows. On that last point about income inequality in America, reading from Salon, the Oxfam study found, quote, the wealth gap in the United States is greater than just about every other developed country. Only Chile, Mexico, and Turkey are worse. End quote. That's from Salon from the Oxfam study. So, of the developed countries with economic inequality, we are only better than Chile, Mexico, and Turkey. How about that, USA? How you feel about that stat? Here we are, the richest country in the world, and our economic inequality is only better than Chile, Mexico, and Turkey. Doesn't that make you feel good? Doesn't that make you feel great? So, I know it made my blood boil. So how did some of the 1% react to this news? How did some 1%ers? Well, let's start out with a clip from a Canadian talk show called the Lang and O'Leary Exchange. One of its hosts is a dude named Kevin O'Leary, and I don't watch this show, but apparently he hosts the reality show Shark Tank, where he's like a business jerk. After you listen to this clip, if you don't know who he is, you won't be surprised. The guy's that he hosts like a business jerk show. But so Kevin O'Leary actually had this following thing to say about the Oxfam report. So he actually said this clip we're going to play. He actually said this following clip right after he denied climate change and global warming exists. So that's the kind of scumbag we're dealing with here. But take a listen. This is Kevin O'Leary on Canadian television.
Okay, let's just hit this story quickly, which is the combined wealth, this is according to Oxfam, of the world's 85 richest people is equal to the 3.5 billion poorest people.
It's fantastic. And this is a great thing because it inspires everybody, gets the motivation to look up to the 1% and say, I want to become one of those people. I'm going to fight hard to get up to the top. This is fantastic news, and of course I applaud it. What can be wrong with this?
Really?
What can be wrong with this? What could be wrong with this? 85 people having more wealth than 3.5 billion people. What can possibly be wrong with that? It's not that people are starving. It's not that people don't have access to shelter or healthcare and their basic needs. What can be wrong with 85 people owning half the world's wealth? The co-host ended up fighting back a little bit, mostly saying there are people starving, and then they had this following exchange. Take a listen.
Bill Gates.
That's the motivation everybody needs.
Only thing between me and
I'm
that
not
guy
against
is
charity.
motivation. I just need to pull up my socks. I don't have socks.
Look, don't tell me that you want to redistribute wealth again. That's never going to happen.
You know what, Kevin O'Leary? I will tell you that. I will tell you that right to your face. I want to redistribute wealth. We need to redistribute wealth. When 85 people have more than 6.5 billion people, we need to redistribute wealth. Period. Especially when many in this world don't have food or shelter or health care. When economic inequality exists, as it does right now, at the most that it ever has, we need to redistribute wealth. And I love how he just like arrogantly brushes her aside and said, "That's never gonna happen. What, redistribute wealth? That's never gonna happen." Like he's like this dude is unafraid of people protesting. He's unafraid of people in the streets. He's unafraid of people fighting for economic justice. This dude, Kevin O'Leary, is unafraid. But another one percenter, I don't know if he's necessarily afraid, but at the bare minimum, he had his feelings hurt by all this talk of economic inequality. You probably heard this one. It actually got some coverage. So this is the billionaire founder of the firm Kleiner Perkins Caulfield and Byers. His name is Thomas Perkins, and he actually wrote in the Wall Street Journal that drawing attention to economic inequality and fighting for economic inequality is just like Nazi Germany exterminating the Jews. I'm not kidding. He actually wrote, quote, "I would call attention to the parallels of the fascist Nazi Germany to its war on the 1%, namely its Jews, to the progressive war on the American 1%, namely the rich." End quote. He actually wrote that, and the Wall Street Journal actually printed it. Way to go, Wall Street Journal. So look, folks, I know some of you care about income inequality. Well, apparently, you're a Nazi. If you occupy, if you protest, you are doing the same exact thing as exterminating the Jews. The fact that this dude writes it, I'm stunned. But I want to talk about another story on inequality here. So Raw Story actually had a report on how the pharmaceutical company Bayer, I guess they make aspirin and a whole lots of other different pharmaceuticals, they developed a drug that apparently is very effective on late-stage kidney and liver cancer. Seems like a good thing. However, in the country of India, to get the drug, it costs $69,000 a year. So, reading from Raw Story, quote, "In March 2012, an Indian court granted a license to an Indian company to produce the drug at a 97% discount." End quote. So, India said, hey, our people are dying. We can't afford that kind of money for a drug. We are going to make a generic version of this life-saving drug. Bayer sued the pharmaceutical company in India, and in an Indian court, the case was actually tossed out. So good for that Indian court. So how does the CEO of Bayer respond to that? Well, in an interview with Business Week, he actually said, quote, and this is the CEO of Bayer, he said, "We did not develop this medicine for Indians. We developed it for Western patients who can afford it." End quote. He actually said that. He actually said in a publication, in an interview, it wasn't something he said in private. He actually said, "We did not develop this medicine for Indians." It's insane. It's insane how these one percenters just have no shame. None at all. And in these cases, inequality, economic inequality, is literally a matter of life and death. Life and death. How the hell are we not in the streets? How the hell can these bastards just feel free to say this stuff? And look, let me be clear, they absolutely have the right to say it, but how have we gotten to the point in this country where these one percenters can feel free to say this crap like that? How can they feel comfortable saying crap like that and think that if they do, we won't be outside their businesses protesting and fighting to shut them down? How did we get there? And even more importantly, why aren't we in the streets protesting over this? We'll be right back.